How's everybody doing? Did everyone here come to see SQL Server 20? No, it's blockchain session. Just checking. Just seeing if you guys are awake. It's after lunch. Hi, my name is Mark McCurry. I lead the product PM team for Azure's Blockchain Engineering organization. And today I'm really excited to bring to you a couple of our customers and very well-known customers, both Starbucks and Jamé, to talk about the solutions that they're building on Azure. So I know this is a customer showcase, not a Microsoft employee showcase, so I'll share a couple slides and I'll get off the stage and let our customers tell you about what they're doing. And we're really excited to do that. So from a Microsoft perspective, we've actually been in the blockchain space since 2015. It's been 4 years since then. We've been spending a lot of time with customers. And at this convention, we're releasing both our new managed service and a set of developer tools. And so what we've been doing is working with customers like the ones you're going to see today to figure out how can we figure out what the big problems are that you need to solve, whether it's software or consortium related, and what are the tools that we can build to help you be successful as possible. And the things that we've released, and you'll see in Mark Rasinovich's session tomorrow, you'll see how what used to take 8 to 12 weeks, you can now do in 8 to 12 minutes in some cases. But today we're going to talk about customers. And so we're working with all these customers over the last couple of years. We worked with them on a number of different types of scenarios. And so regardless of which industry you're in, there are a number of scenarios where blockchain is super relevant. There are also a lot of scenarios where blockchain is less super relevant, and a database will work just fine. And so the best thing we can do for customers is really talk about what are other customers doing that are really good examples. And I'm very excited today to talk with you and introduce to you both Starbucks and Jamé. We've got Karen from Starbucks, we've got Peter from Jamé. And what I'm going to do now is turn this over to them so they can tell you what they're doing. Karen?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karan Motwani. I'm a manager in the application development space at Starbucks. And I'm going to talk to you about our traceability use case. I want to cover 4 things primarily. One is, why are we doing this initiative? Secondly, I want to cover our business scenario, our business process of how we procure coffee. Third, I want to cover is why blockchain. I'm sure everybody's thinking about it. And fourth is our technical architecture. So the reason we are doing this initiative is primarily for our farmers. Our coffee growing farmers are an integral part of our supply chain. And we want to make sure we economically and socially empower these farmers. Right now, the younger generation of farmers are moving away from growing coffee. Reason being economic and social empowerment. They don't feel that they are empowered enough. Giving them access to this information can make them empowered. When we want to our coffee is 100% traceable. Starbucks has 100% traceable coffee even today. What we are trying to do is digitize it so that we can share it in a format back with our farmers, and they can use this information to build their credibility with the local financial institutions, and also they can see the reach of their coffee. So that's one of the reasons we are doing this. Another aspect of doing this is our customers who come to our stores. Our baristas work very hard to make the connection with our customers. We want to take this one step forward. We want to connect our customers to our farmers and tell them the story about our coffee through our mobile app. So when you trace a bag of coffee, you should be able to see the entire journey of the coffee and how it was sourced and who are the people behind it. I'll take a few minutes to talk about our coffee supply chain, which is pretty complex. The physical state of a cherry, which is deposited by the farmer at a co-op, goes through various transitions at each and every node. As the physical nature of the coffee changes, its lot number changes, and there is a lot of aggregation and disaggregation of coffee, of beans, which happens at each and every node. Now, that poses a lot of complexity for us when we are trying to design this into smart contracts which run on a blockchain. Just to clarify for everyone, smart contracts is a piece of code which ensures your transactions go to the blockchain, and they help you read transactions back from the blockchain. We have, I'll talk a little bit more about smart contracts. We have used Solidity language to write our smart contracts, and each and every different kind of lot has been mapped to a different smart contract. And we are building relationships between these lots using a concept called registry within the smart contracts. So we built 7 different smart contracts to capture our end-to-end supply chain. And underneath the hood, I tell my engineers, smart contract is nothing but getters and setters. You are trying to send values to the blockchain, and you're trying to read values from the blockchain. Starbucks procures coffee from 380,000 farmers across the globe with 50 suppliers. 97% of our 380,000 farmers are small farm holders. So that's the kind of scale we are talking about when we in our supply chain. So as explained earlier, as the coffee moves through various nodes, we are trying to capture each and every element of our coffee and make sure we are building a platform which is not tampered and where you can get authentic data. Now, why are we using blockchain for this? That's the question which is there in everyone's mind. We want the long-term capability for our suppliers to ingest all the farmer information which they get onto this platform. Right now, it's only Starbucks using it. So we are taking the information from our suppliers and ingesting it onto this platform. But we want the long-term capability where we can open up this platform to our suppliers so that they can start ingesting information for all the data which they have, not necessarily which Starbucks is procuring. What that does is the benefit goes back to the farmers. For the farmers, they have one single place to see all the data which they have produced and which they have sold to the suppliers and to the world. I'll take a few minutes to talk about the technical architecture which we have built to solve this problem. Two things I want to talk about in this architecture is, one is how data is getting into the blockchain. The other is how we are reading the data from the blockchain onto the mobile device or any other desktop browser as well. So we had to build a couple of integrations to get the data into the blockchain. Our data is, like I said, Starbucks has 100% traceable coffee, but the data is in disparate systems. So making the connections to the blockchain is key part of your solution. You have to make sure blockchain as a platform becomes part of your ecosystem. One aspect which we use, if you see on the top, is we get data from our suppliers in the form of Excel files. We were dropping those Excel files in a blob storage, and we have written Azure functions which are getting triggered off the blob. They are reading the data from these Excel files and putting it in a SQL Server DB as a staging area. If you look at the bottom right corner, you can see we are pulling data from back-of-house ERP systems as well, using an open source technology, which is Apache NiFi. The same data goes back into the SQL DB. That's how we are collecting data from disparate systems and staging it in one place. On the SQL DB, then we are running multiple validations to make sure the data is clean, and then we change the state of that data. That's when we have Logic app, which is getting triggered, and it is taking the data and ingesting it onto the Quorum Azure Blockchain Service. Right now, we are using the Azure Blockchain Managed Service. Once the data makes it to the chain, we are using the contract addresses to read the data back from the chain and put it back into the SQL DB. So that SQL DB acts as the first layer of cache for us. If you look at the bottom, I have an Elasticsearch implementation. Using Elasticsearch, I'm building a second layer of cache, and I'll talk about it in detail. So we have Elasticsearch on Elk Stack. We have used Elastic, Logstash, and Kibana. So Logstash is running on SQL DB, pulling all the lineage data and storing it back in Elastic. And our app is hitting the Elastic endpoint to retrieve all this data and render it on the app. We are using Elastic as a second layer of cache to get a better response and a better user experience. You should never read the data directly from the chain. You should always have a caching layer to render the data back on your device or on any desktop browser to get a better user experience. If you read it directly from the chain, you're going to see a lot of latency. Couple of things I wanted to talk about is we did this. It was a very iterative process for us to get to this architecture. We started off with Workbench, which is another PaaS offering from Microsoft, which gives you a jump start, and you can do small POCs and fail fast. And then slowly, as we are productionizing it, we move to a managed service platform. Instead of logic apps, I also wanted to call out you can use Azure functions. Like if you have a good engineer who can write code for you, you can even use Azure functions, and Azure Python functions have become GA'd from build. I was fortunate to have Manjeet in the crowd, who's an engineer from my team. He was even able to do this logic apps integration. He was even able to do it using Azure Functions. So both the options are good. You can try either ways. If you don't want to write code, you can go with logic apps. Couple of other things I wanted to talk about is Solidity. We use Solidity to build our smart contracts. Keep in mind, it's just like JavaScript. So if you have engineers who know JavaScript, they can easily learn Solidity. But definitely, there are certain challenges, like it doesn't have some of the out-of-the-box functions like GUID generation, date formatting. Those are the things you may have to write from scratch. If you want the demo of our app, we have a Starbucks technology booth in the exhibition hall in the corner. Please feel free to stop by. Me and my team would be more than happy to give you a demo. And if you have any other technical questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. I wanted to thank Mark for the opportunity to present here and also the partnership and support he has given. Thanks, Mark.
If you wouldn't mind, students, come to the front as much as possible because we started installing something on the front computers.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Yu from Xiaomi Company, in charge of ERP and the supply chain system. Actually, my English is not very good, so currently I feel a little difficult and nervous. So. Xiaomi is an internet company with smartphone and smart hardwares connected by its IoT platform. With a vision of being friends and being the coolest company in users' hearts, Xiaomi is connected to continuous innovation with an unwavering focus on quality and efficiency. So. Before jumping into details, let me introduce the background and the challenge. In the past 9 years, we cannot make fast growth without our ecosystem and the suppliers and partner support. We were thinking how to build healthy ecosystem and grow with them together. The traditional factoring process need to verify many printed business documents as digital credit. So even if we have ERP and SRM system as application platform, there are still connectivity, transparency, and trust challenge from centralized system. So to empower ecosystem, we also need to consider the security and the efficiency to integrate with business applications from centralized system. Leveraging Azure Blockchain Service and decentralized shared entity and transactions, Xiaomi and Microsoft developed a reference architecture to enable the suppliers to integrate ERP system with consortium blockchains to truly make business documents as digital credit. To simplify the solution adoption at large business network, we built a lightweight open API for third-party applications, including SAP, SRM, Power Apps, and Microsoft Flow to interact with the consortium blockchains. As a result, digitalized credit accelerates the factoring and banking process from weeks to days, and improves the cash efficacy with trust and transparency on Azure Blockchain Service. Distributed deployment and data traceability also provide the transmissible trust chain to expand the business network for multi-layer supply chain hierarchy with low IT efforts. So now, let's dig into some details for the architecture.
Thanks, Peter. Big hand for Peter. So this is the Xiaomi solution. If you look over here in the lower left, can you guys hear me okay? Great. so there we go. And so initially, the processes were with very tightly trusted organizations. So it was very difficult to onboard people very rapidly because it required a high level of trust running in their on-premises environment. So one of the things that Jalbert did is they introduced smart contracts. You see sort of these in the beginning here, if we're doing creating POs, creating ASNs, those sorts of things. And so now they had smart contracts that had an attestable, consistent way for them to execute processes and it was very easy for them to bring more people on board. The other thing they did is they realized that not a lot of people, not every person wants to understand blockchain. And so what they've done is they've built a set of APIs that interact with the smart contracts to make it much easier for people to integrate with their solution and with their smart contracts. The other thing they've done is they've utilized Microsoft Flow. So Microsoft Flow, if people are less familiar with it, think of it almost like if this, then that for the enterprise. And so that or Logic Apps, which is very similar that Karen talked about earlier, makes it very easy for you to integrate in with all sorts of systems, whether it's SaaS, databases, what have you. In this case, we're talking about things like SAP and Dynamics and other systems that people have out there. Now, the other thing they used was Power Apps. Has anyone here ever used Power Apps? Okay, so I want you to go to Mark Rasinovich's session tomorrow and look at what we're doing with blockchain and Power Apps. And so the combination of Flow and Power Apps is going to allow you to build low-code, no-code solutions for mobile and web on top of blockchain. So the level of productivity you're going to get is tremendous. And Jalbert has been pioneering work in that space, and they've got some great examples that they've delivered here. And so when they sort of bring it all together, they're going to be able to leverage the Microsoft platform. They're going to be able to bring on other customers very, very quickly, other people in their partner ecosystem very quickly. And they've got some great experiences that they can talk to you about after the session. So first of all, I want to thank Karen and Peter again. So they're the pioneers, right? These are the people working in very large organizations, solving really tough problems, and we're working closely with them. So all the things that you may have seen on Thursday that you'll definitely see in Mark Rasinovich's presentation tomorrow is the result of the hard work and the partnership we've had with them. We've seen what are the things that were really difficult for them, like, hey, I want to create web services for my smart contracts. It went from, hey, I had to create web services to my smart contracts to there's a Visual Studio Code extension. I can right-click on my smart contracts, and it will generate web services for me as functions, flows, or Logic Apps. So thanks to them for doing that early work, because it's manifesting in our tools that are going to help you be super productive. So what are those tools? So we have Azure Blockchain Service. This is a managed service running the Quorum blockchain. If folks are familiar with Quorum and want to talk to the folks who built it, or you're less familiar with Quorum, there's a gentleman right down in front who's the lead for the Quorum blockchain that's been working with us very closely. The other thing is once we had a ledger, one of the things we learned is a ledger without the ability to create smart contracts is not something you can be super productive on. And so this is a place where we said, hey, we want to go fast. How do we go do this? So we said we're going to partner with the best of the OSS community. So there's the folks from Truffle who are down here, who are doing some really great work. There's a gentleman from Ethereum, Juan Blanco, I'm not sure if he's here, who's been doing some great work. We said, can we bring the best of the open source community and Microsoft together? And that's manifested in Visual Studio Code tools that are available for free, Windows, Linux, Mac today. And then Karen talked about something called Workbench. Workbench is how you can very rapidly build out a proof of concept. So you write your smart contract, it'll generate a web front end, give you integration layers, plug it into the database. A lot of the, or some of the things you saw in Karen's architecture, we generate for you automatically. And then what Karen's done is taken that to the next level when moving it to production. And then we got the dev kit. And so when the dev kit, we realized at Microsoft that the ledger is great, tools to create smart contracts are great, but there's a lot of things you want to do in terms of building an end-to-end application. So if we talk about connecting with farmers, sometimes smallhold farmers do not have an iPhone. They have an SMS phone that they might SMS information in. So whether it's SMS or bots or IoT, we've got lots of things in terms of how to integrate. We have lots of things around DevOps. How do you do DevOps for consortium, which is new for folks? And then a whole bunch of things around integration with Logic Apps and Flow. So I think we're at our time. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Peter and I want to thank Karen, both for presenting today and also being our partners and doing great work and helping make the platform better. And then if you're interested in blockchain, we have a number of sessions that are here over the course of the week. We'd definitely love to see you there. And we also have a booth set up on the other side. We're happy to answer questions. And then I think we'll also stick around for questions off to the side here if you have anything you'd like to talk about. Thank you very much and have a great build.